Alright, so I'm back to reviewing bad movies once again. Lucky me. Tonight's movie is called The Millennium Bug, and this movie takes place on New Year's Eve back in 1999/2000, and it follows this family of three. There's a father, his daughter, and his new wife, aka the daughter's stepmother, and they've decided to go out camping in the mountains for New Year's just in case Y2K happens to be real. And they end up being captured by this inbred family that's living in the mountains. And in the meantime, there's this giant bug that's been sleeping underground for the past 1,000 years, and it's about to resurface on this night just to add to the chaos, hence the title of the movie. Now, at the beginning of this film, I did not have a very good first impression. I was expecting this to be yet another chore. Like, the first thing that they show you is this on screen text explaining what the Millennium Bug is. That's the Y2K computer bug. And, throughout the rest of this film, there's never anything that ever involves computers, so it's completely irrelevant. I mean, honestly, to me, that would have been like if at the beginning of Finding Nemo, they explained that the title character of the movie had been named after the captain of the Nautilus. Nobody would have given a shit. And then, as for the good guys in this movie, the family of three, there was some dialogue that came off as more natural and likable, that made you believe that this was a real family, but then most of the lines that came out of their mouths just felt really forced and clunky. And I don't know whether it was because she was a bad actress or just because she wasn't given enough material to work with, but the stepmother was easily the most boring character in the entire film. And, another, small thing that bothered me early on was you get introduced to this potential villain. There's this guy who's patrolling the woods who tries to kill someone for hunting deer when it isn't deer season. And I'm not saying he would have been like the best villain, but he would have at least been something different. I can't think of any horror movies offhand where the bad guy is some nature freak. But instead, they go for the inbred hillbillies because, we haven't seen that 500 times before. I mean, how many wrong turn movies have they made now? But I will say, to the movie's credit, that the inbred redneck family redeems this movie in spades. Like, they're so over the top and silly that it's kind of hard to take them seriously for the most part, and every scene that involved them was pretty fun to watch. And the reason I say for the most part is because there was one member of the family that actually scared me, and unfortunately there he only shows up in a couple of brief scenes, but there's this one guy who is so badly deformed that they keep him locked in an underground cellar, and the couple of scenes that involved him were genuinely creepy to me. And then I love the work that the set designers did for this movie. Like, for the house that this family was living in, the walls are all cracked and broken and covered in fungus, and it just looks like the kind of place that if for whatever reason you entered it for even a second, you would just have to take a shower immediately after leaving. It did not look very habitable. And as for the giant bug itself, they didn't use any CGI in the film, which they make obvious early on, by the way. Like, as you're seeing the logos come up, one of the studios behind this was literally called No CGI Films. So the bug is a man in a rubber suit, and it actually looks really cool. Like, it almost looks as if they took some of Godzilla's DNA and combined it with that of an insect to create this thing, and I loved looking at it. Also, even though this is a very low budget film, it's extremely effects driven. Like, 90% of it was shot in a studio, and a lot of the scenes that take place outdoors are these composite shots, and it gives it a pretty good aesthetic, I think. Now, also, as I was watching the commentary for this movie, there was a moment where the director was saying, for a particular scene, that you could either think it was disgusting or comedic. So clearly, he doesn't care about what people think of the film as long as they enjoy watching it. So I kind of like that. It feels like one of the more entertaining movies from Shakorama Studios, and honestly, it would have felt right at home if it had been in that DVD collection that I talked about recently. Um, Regarding the fact that the director said that you could react to the film with disgust, I will say, just as a warning, it does get pretty nasty in parts. The violence in it is extremely graphic, and there's even, I'd say that the most extreme that they go is early on in the film. One of the members of this inbred family is giving birth to a deformed baby, but really, as that was happening, I thought that the baby looked so fake, even as it was just barely poking out, that it really didn't have any effect on me, which is kind of curious. I mean, recently I saw fake looking piss in Zombie Abomination and got nauseous, but, fake looking childbirth, nothing. uh, so that's kind of interesting. But in the end, the Millennium Bug was a surprisingly fun time for me. It's not a good movie. I mean, like I said, it's cheesy as all get out and it's badly acted, but as a guilty pleasure, so bad it's good type of movie, I would say it's pretty damn solid, and I'm gonna keep this DVD. So if you're interested in seeing a fun little B movie about inbred rednecks and a giant monster bug, then this film might be up your alley, and it does come recommended. So that's all I've got to say about the Millennium Bug. I hope you all have a good one.